That's the right fucking move, bro. And every fucking story of betrayal, once you figure out why nigga left or whatever for the reasons, you can understand it, bro. Like Dese and Dese, bro. He draws his best friend for a good ass reason, though, nigga. That's how this shit be, nigga. And just in life in general, certain people just feel like they can't evolve with you. Like a lot of niggas just know in life they not gonna be able to evolve or gain more out of it if they still with you. A lot of niggas feel like their perspective of this shit, like I'm only gonna probably go so far with this nigga. And I'm like, this nigga can't take me to bigger heights, and you only can get bigger when it's either you gonna be at a standpoint, or it's either that in life it was gonna go on to be bigger. And that's what really happened with fucking Dese and Jay-Z. One of them niggas won out of that shit, and there was a story of two best friends or whatever, bro. In general, the story of betrayal, though, man. I just was looking into some shit and I'm like, but the things niggas did in betrayal at the end, from their side, they winning and the other person not gonna win out of that shit, bro. But that's the story of life, man. Like, Adam and Eve, nigga. What they say they did, they was hungry or whatever and ate the fucking apple off the tree or whatever, nigga. They betrayed niggas, bro. But it was that I had it put this way though. It could have been hot, whatever the case was, nigga. That apple could have been looking plush and juicy. Every time you go to an apple tree, peach tree, you can't resist that big ass apple, nigga. Big juicy peach, nigga. And I'm like, man, I look at that shit as nature. Like, when Adam and Eve bit that shit, I'm like, man, I know God provide that shit, but it ain't mine, anything in His nature that provide this shit. Like, it's nature. Mother Nature, these seeds grow for the people on earth, bro. So this big ass pear tree with them big plump ass apples and them big juicy ass Georgia peaches, like that shit irresistible. Bees gonna collect the nectar and shit for the seeds and shit, so they make the plants and shit. It's a cycle of nature. So it wasn't that Adam and Eve wanted to go against what God said. It was more of, it's just your instincts that big plump fruit good as fuck, bro, and irresistible. Anytime you see it's free, when you living in a world today where you gotta go pay for a handful of groceries and shit like that, like, man, that shit get expensive, bro. So when you do live by a farm and you see that big ass peach, you gonna naturally just wanna go and bite it, nigga. So that was Adam and Eve mindset, bro. Their mind was just curious as fuck to go and see what that fruit was. And it could have been a poisonous apple, nigga. But now that I think about that shit, nigga, how the fuck did they even didn't know? Like, I'm like, it gotta be somebody who ate an apple and shit before them. Cause I'm like, that story don't really make sense though. You know, I believe in that shit, but I'm like, man, how did they know that shit wasn't gonna kill them, bro? If you eat the wrong apple or the wrong fruit, that shit gonna swell up your neck, bro. And you gonna die from that shit, nigga. And I'm like, man, I hate to think this way, bro. I'm Christian, bro. Like, I'm all Jesus Christ sacrificed himself and hung on the cross for all of us to be here today. But I'm like, they had to have been somewhat hungry, or that, man, you just can't resist certain shit, bro. Like, somebody had to have ate that apple in front of them, and it was just like, it was just a abundance of apples, and it had to have been somebody just walked past and took a big ass bite, and they seen that juicy ass sugar coming off that apple, and they just was like, damn, bro, we gotta go get that apple. Somebody just walked by this bitch and probably took a big ass bite out this fruit, bro. And we just sat out there and watched that shit, and somebody telling you, don't do that shit. And it's hot as fuck, and you hungry as fuck, bro, and it's a juicy ass apple right there, man. Any human in the right mind not go listen and just go behind that what that person said. We see somebody, like, they gonna go and bite that fucking apple, nigga. It's hot as hell. We seen a nigga chewing on that bitch, chopping down on some juicy ass fruit. Like, everybody naturally gonna want some of that shit. And it was just the human instincts and Mother Nature providing, bro. It felt like, I don't know, like that. I don't know. I just felt like somebody was trying to starve Adam and Eve, bro. Like, this voice that was listening to might have not been a good voice, bro. Cause if nature providing that shit and it's there for you, why not go for it? Nature is there to provide this fruit, bro. That's the reason why birds and shit go and get plants from this area that could be like not enough water, or the weather or the humidity ain't good enough to fucking grow. So these plants don't really grow in this area. So birds and shit go and build their nest. And when they go and build their nest, these dried out fruit plants and shit like that, they go and build that. And whenever it rains, that shit come back down and grow in this rainforest, bro. That's how the rainforest was brought up. Cause the birds transfer on this fucking seed. And like certain places of the world don't got the same fucking, it ain't as much water, it's dry as fuck, like the Sahara Desert and shit like that, or Death Valley. That's why one point in time in history, Death Valley might have been a rainforest or some shit. It might have been the most thriving rainforest, bro. Death Valley could have been one of them rainforests that was just thriving in nature, and it could have just, anything could have happened. My theory is with Death Valley, it was one of the most luscious part of the world. It had the most juiciest plants and fruits, and it was just probably the most wateriest place in the world, bro. But what is California known for? Earthquakes and fault lines. It's right on the fault line. So what that tell you? One day in California, the most beautiful rainforest in the world with birds and shit, probably animals and shit you never seen, that probably extinct. Because one day a volcano erupted. And what do you know? It just happened to be right by the fault line, volcanic activity. A tsunami came in first before the volcano and stopped the whole bunch of shit. When the tsunami came through and swept, it knocked down trees and branches and trapped a bunch of animals. These animals' natural interest in knowing bad weather coming, but since this motherfucking earthquake was so devastating, and now that the ocean done came up and the coastline done swept all the in, it just came in one day and came out. So whenever it came in, it destroyed those lives. Whenever it swept back, which is a tsunami or whatever the case may be, it took shit along with it. And when it came in, it was so destructive and destroyed life and destroyed all these wonderful animals. And along with that, it destroyed structures and moved rocks and created streams and all this shit. And it stopped all the animals from getting out and getting where they need to be. So when that goes down, okay, now it slowed the animals down. Now the animals only got a certain amount of time just to get out in time, bro. And the only thing that's really gonna get out is fish, because they like water. That's why it's fish in certain regions of the world where they shouldn't be at, because of Mother Nature transfer this body of water to this body of water via humidity and heat. And the fumes, once it's hot outside, water evaporates and goes up into the clouds. and that shit goes back down, and just all this evaporated water went up to the clouds, and it took this body of water, it took that body of water, and it just on formed. Then somewhere along there, the water, the weather, it's warm and cold, and you got tornadoes and shit like that, and hurricanes and shit. But my theory is what happened was it was a big ass, after the tsunami, it just was too devastating. It wasn't just like when you normally hear about a disaster. It was like a crazy ass disaster where unfortunately it was a tsunami first and an earthquake that destroyed land and struck, and I'm like, oh, it had to have been the three major disasters of the world. It had to have been a tsunami, an earthquake, and then a volcanic eruption to come through and just burn every fucking life form. A volcanic eruption, it had to be one of the biggest eruptions known in history, like to this day. And we're not sure if this shit happened over 1 million or 2 million years ago, but my theory is a big ass earth. It was in California. It had to have been a tsunami that come sweep through, and then with that, then an earthquake, and then just one of the biggest catastrophic volcanic eruptions ever to exist. And when it came through, it was so destructive. It just burnt all life and set me to the ground. And I believe deep under the ground in California, it is lush and it is water, but it just can't reach the surface and shit, because that's when you got silver and all these other metallic, all these other elements that's being formed with this volcanic eruption. That's where gold and all y'all favorite shiny rubies and all this shiny shit y'all like the shiny shit, y'all like this shit, the jewelry, and okay, that's what all that's going on. That now that all this water is trapped up and can't get up, and it's like all this erosion and shit like that, and this shit is when it's pressure and shit, and this water is trying to get up out this pressure, and the volcano it was just like it cemented along this shit. So now it's like only certain roots and shit able to get out, like strong plants and shit. That's why cactuses and shit, they got like strong roots and shit, and they known for having some of the longest roots of all trees. Even tree stems and shit don't grow as long as a cactus. So that's why they able to fucking still get it, because a cactus probably roots go wherever and go around any motherfucking whatever in the ground. Dinosaur fucking what you call it, when you dig up, it's going around all that shit and getting that water that's thousands and thousands of feet under the ground. Well, my theory is when that's going on, all this other shit is happening where you got this gold and copper and all these fucking different materials forming. And then it's like we realize people like that shit, and we can use that shit to build shit. So that's my theory about that shit though. With the I could be wrong though, you know. It could have went the other way, bro. It could have been that or a meteor. But I don't see how a meteor would destroy all the plant life, bro. That's why my theory would be if it had to have been a volcanic eruption, and a huge ass volcanic eruption at that. And the only thing that made it, the birds took what they can, and the bird is a what you call it? They don't got it. They not cannibalistic. Like, okay, you got eagles and shit, but they cannibalistic. But birds and shit taking all these fruits and shit from over here, and was like they was just thinking like, man, there's water over here. Like, you birds are smarter than you think. All these birds and shit took this fruit from this and just dropped it over there and realized they fucking ecosystic, bro. They know how to grow plants and shit. They know how to pit fish eggs in bodies of water so they feed each other and shit. So these birds are smart as fuck. These birds moving all this shit, gathering shit, and if you able to build a fucking nest for your young, then you able to fucking do all this other shit, move eggs and shit like that. So these smart ass birds going to go grab shit and moving this shit to Nevada and all the other shit around the surrounding area. And then unfortunately, California, this event happened so recently My theory is this shit could have happened within the last 1,000 years. For it to be such a drought and still have wildfires and shit. My thing is this shit happened so recently that it was gonna be 1,000+ years before this place was able to fucking, for the plants to emerge out the ground, because the volcano was that shit. It had to have been the most devastating volcano ever. My thing is, once that shit never came out, it had to have been more recent than what these fucking scientists projected. Like, they probably projected this shit happened, but I say, my theory is this shit happened within the last 1,000 years if no vegetation or nothing shit like that can grow without y'all building, like, dams and Hoover dams and shit like that. All that shit was created for these Californians to have water. So all these man-made structures and shit in California is man-made. So a lot of this shit is not natural.